As the chill of fall finally gives us some relief, the chef at Dream Cuisine turns traditional Texas brisket into an international meal that will stick to your ribs. Hungry, anyone?
We're doing traditional barbecue tonight, cooked in a whole different way. So we're trying to incorporate all the elements of a barbecue restaurant. I made some roasted vegetable salsa that's gonna compose our bruschetta. We're gonna put that over some nice Italian bread. So in the bowl here, I have cool, nice homegrown tomatoes and cilantro. And in the pan, we got a couple of ears of roasted corn that I just did on a hot pit outside, a roasted bell pepper, and one bunch of roasted green onions. And we're just gonna chop these up and combine them together. So we got cool and hot, which will add a little bit of texture flavor type stuff to it. And we're just gonna chop them up down to where we're getting into the leaves and chunk them in there with our tomatoes and cilantro. The pepper we're gonna take out and remove the seeds. And then we're gonna dice this up and throw it in there with it. And then, just like the onions, we're gonna toss it in with our tomatoes. And last but not least, we got a couple of ears of fresh corn. We simply took the husk off them and threw them on the grill. And we're gonna just run the knife down along the cob and cut the kernels off. And this goes right into the bowl with the other stuff. Once we get that in there, we're gonna take a lime. It's just a regular lime that I've rolled around and juiced it up real good. Cut it in half, stick a fork in the side of it, and give it a squeeze. It's already smelling very fresh. And just for fun, we're gonna add a little bit of salt and some fresh cracked pepper. And then we'll give this a quick stir, set it aside so the flavors can blend. And again, we're gonna put that on toasted Italian bread. All right, another very traditional recipe at any barbecue restaurant is coleslaw. So again, we're doing barbecue in a whole different way. We wanted slaw, but we thought we'd do something a little odd. So we looked for where to find some of the best greens, and we realized that they're right here in Texas. So what we have in the bowl here is a lot of good fresh spinach, but then we went out into the garden and you can see some basil and a lot of sage in here. So it's 1 part basil, 1 part sage, 2 parts spinach. And we're just gonna roll this up and cut it fine so it has kind of a coleslaw-like appearance. So once we get all this stuff chopped up, we're just gonna give it a good toss to make sure that the 3 ingredients are mixed well. And then in the small bowl that you see, I made this up last night. This is a traditional coleslaw dressing, which includes a little bit of mayo, some vinegar, celery seed, small amount of sugar, and some salt. And then just for fun, we diced up a pineapple and chunked in here to give it, because we're going worldly, so it's gonna give it a little Pacific Rim flair. And we're just gonna toss that, a little bit of this in here. And then give it a good toss to mix, and we're just gonna put that back in the fridge and let it chill. We don't have a real name for it, but if you want to call it something, I guess you can call it spinach and herb and pineapple slaw. So instead of potatoes, we thought we'd use plantains. Plantains are originated in Africa, and they're like a banana, only not quite as sweet. And once cooked, they have the same consistency as potatoes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the meat out of the skin, we're gonna cook it, and then we're gonna stuff the meat back into the skin so it'll have a nice presentation. Okay, so we've got our plantains peeled, and we reserve the rind because we're gonna stuff these kind of like a twice stuffed potato. Next thing we need is bacon, and you don't want anything sweet, so no like maple flavored bacon or anything. This is hickory smoked here. Give it a pre-chop in rough pieces like this. Cut all the way through, and we're just gonna go ahead and put that in our skillet that we have heating over here. We're gonna do 1 large minced onion, 1 tablespoon of fresh minced garlic. And we're just gonna let all this cook until the bacon is cooked through and a little bit crisp. We're gonna add a couple extra other ingredients that'll help it along. We've got 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, a half a cup of chicken stock, our plantains, and we're gonna just throw in some good old salt and pepper on top of this. So it gets a nice little dark color like that to it. Give it a good stir, reduce the heat, and let it simmer for about 15 minutes.